All right, welcome to our next lesson on polynomials. This one's about dividing. Again, today we're going to be keeping things fairly simple. We're going to deal with dividing a polynomial by a monomial. We will look at more complicated divisions later on. All right, so when we divide polynomials, we employ a concept where we distribute the monomial in the denominator to each term in the numerator. If I write that out sort of generically, what I mean by that is, let's say this is the first term, the second term, and the third term of a trinomial, and they're all divided by some kind of denominator, a monomial, which remember could be a number or a number and variables. If I have that trinomial divided by a monomial, what I do is I take that first term and I divide it by the denominator, and I take the second term and I divide it by the denominator, and the third term and I divide it by the denominator. Notice that I had addition signs here, so I kept those the same. If there had been a subtraction in on one of these, then I would have to put a subtraction in. But that's the concept that we're going to employ, that the contents of the denominator are placed underneath each term of the numerator separately, and then you do your simplifying. All right, where else do we see something like this? Well, if you think back to addition and subtraction of fractions, we might see something like 3/8 plus 4/8. And we know that when we have a common denominator like that, we can add the numerators. In this case, we're adding. So that would be 3 plus 4 divided by 8, or over 8, which would be 7 over 8. Well, take a look at this for a second. This stage right here, well, that's kind of like we have here. When I start at this, that's kind of like what I've got there. So it's sort of like adding or subtracting fractions, just in reverse. That's the concept that we're going to employ here. So let's look at an example. I've got a trinomial being divided by a monomial. In this case, the monomial is 7. I take 14t squared, put that over 7. I have a minus sign next, so I go minus 35t divided by 7, and plus 21 divided by 7. I can now do some simplifying. I know that 7 goes into 14 and leaves me with 2. 7 goes into negative 35 and leaves me with a negative 5. Remember to make sure that I keep my signs straight there. And 7 goes into 21 and leaves me with 3. So this is 2t squared minus 5t plus 3. Now, a really nice thing about this is that we can check our work. We can go back and we can say, well, if we divided this by this to get 2t squared minus 5t plus 3, then it stands to reason that if I multiply 7 onto 2t squared minus 5t plus 3, I should get back to what I started with. So let's do our distributing. 7 times 2t squared gives me 14t squared. 7 times minus 5t gives me minus 35t. And 7 times 3 gives me 21. And so you can see that that and that are the same, so I got it right. All right, now does it make any difference if the denominator also contains a variable? In our previous example, we just had a number. The process is exactly the same, so I go 24b squared c divided by 3c. I have to take the entire contents of that denominator, minus, make sure you're watching those signs again, minus 15bc over 3c, and plus 6c over 3c. And again, then I can start doing my simplifying. The 3 goes into 24 and leaves me with 8. The c's cancel each other out. That leaves me with 8b squared. The 3 goes into the negative 15, leaves me with a negative 5. The c's cancel. I get minus 5b. And this 3 goes into the 6, leaves me with 2, and the c's canceled, plus 2. All right, now let's look at a couple more examples. This one's a little bit tricky because now my denominator has a negative sign or in there, so this is negative 2n squared. So I have to be really careful as I do my simplifying that I keep my signs accurate. So I can simplify this and go 16n to the fourth divided by negative 2n squared. There's a minus sign here, so that's minus 4n cubed divided by minus 2n squared. And now I can start doing my simplifying. A minus 2 divides into 16. So in this case, it's a positive 16 being divided by a negative 2. A positive divided by a negative leaves me with a negative 8. The n squared goes into n to the fourth, leaves me with n to the 2. So that's minus 8n squared. I go to my next one. This is a negative 2 going into a negative 4. Negative divided by a negative leaves me with a positive. So this is going to become a positive. That's where I want you to be really careful. Notice that this sign changes here. And then we have n squared going into n cubed, leaving me with n to the 1 or just n. So that can be a tricky one. That might be the part that messes you up the most in this portion of the unit. So please be very careful as you're doing your dividing. Make sure you understand how the signs change as you divide by a negative. That's going to get a lot of people in trouble if you're not careful. All right, so here's one that's a little bit more complex. In this case, I'm doing a combination of multiplying and dividing. And you'll definitely see some questions like this. Before I can do that division, I need to distribute in. So I get negative 5 times 2g cubed, negative 10g cubed. Negative 5 times negative 4 is plus 20 g to the fifth h. Come on, there we go. Divided by negative 2g squared. And now I can do what I did before, minus 10g cubed divided by minus 2g squared. In this case, my sign is a positive, so I put my positive in. 20g to the fifth h divided by negative 2g squared. Careful with my signs again. Minus 10g cubed divided by negative 2g squared. A negative divided by a negative gives me a positive. So that's going to be a positive 5. G squareds cancel out, leaves me with 5g. A positive divided by a negative leaves me with a negative 10. G squared goes into g to the fifth. That leaves me with g to the third h. I really don't need this positive sign out here. That was there just to remind me. So I get 5g minus 10g cubed h. Oops, there we go. So last question here. I'm tricking you up a little bit. I'm throwing in a word problem, and I know how much you guys love word problems. If the area of a rectangle is 32m squared minus 8m, and the short side is 4m, find the long side. I want the long side as my answer. So let's draw ourselves a picture. A rectangle. I know the area is 32m squared minus 8m. And the short side is 4m. I'm looking for this. That side. We'll call that side L. Now I know that the area of a rectangle is equal to the width times the length. I know that the area is 32m squared minus 8m. And that's going to be equal to 4m times our missing length. I can solve for the length by dividing both sides by 4m. They cancel. And I get the length is equal to 32m squared minus 8m over 4m, which is equal to 32m squared over 4m minus 8m over 4m. Those cancel, leave me with 8 and an m. 8m, and 4m goes into 8m, leaves me with 2. So I get 8m minus 2 as my long side. All right, so that is dividing polynomials, or at least the simple part of dividing polynomials. Remember, this, I guess, would be the most important concept, that you take a polynomial in the numerator and split it out so that the denominator is going into each term of the polynomial separately to get this. All right, please make notes, ask questions in class if you have them, and we will see you next video.